Happy birthday, Ma! Yeah, it's my mom's birthday, and to celebrate, I'm reviewing her favorite video game, Tomb Raider, on the Sega Saturn. To give you an idea as to just how much my mom loves this game, do you remember the Grail Diary from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Every clue Henry Jones followed, every discovery he made, it was a complete record of his search for the Holy Grail. Ma had something similar, except it was an R.L. Stine's Goosebumps notebook. She basically wrote her very own strategy guide. I'm not kidding, everything from secret locations to puzzle solutions and traps, enemies and item placement, even her best stage completion times, because she had played and beaten the game several times. That was 20 years ago. Damn. Anyway, let us talk about Lara herself. She's one of the most famous video game characters of all time, invading almost every form of media known to man. Lara had novels, a comic series, 2 film adaptations starring Angelina Jolie, both of which were mediocre at best. She even appeared in Playboy magazine. It wasn't a nude rendering, but Nell McAndrew, the model that replaced Rona Mitra. No, I'm not going to show you her spread, it's not your birthday. Many successful and not so successful sequels and spin-offs would follow, primarily on PC and Sony platforms, though Tomb Raider was first released on Sega Saturn. Yeah, Saturn was the lead platform. In spite of this, Lara Croft wouldn't become a superstar until her appearance on PlayStation. Because of this, Eidos entered into an exclusivity deal with Sony, meaning we wouldn't see another Tomb Raider game on a Sega platform until the 4th installment, The Last Revelation, on Dreamcast. Of course, none of this would have come to pass without the first game. The story begins in New Mexico, where a nuclear bomb test exposes an ancient device buried deep beneath the desert floor. Lara Croft is lounging about in Calcutta when she's approached by a Yank on behalf of Jacqueline Natla.
From Natla Technologies, you know, creator of all things bright and beautiful.
Seal it, Larson.
Ma'am.
Feast your eyes on this, Lara. How does that make your wallet rumble?
I'm sorry. I only play for sport.
Then you'll like a big park. Peru, vast mountain ranges to cover, sheer walls of ice, rocky crags, savage winds, and there's this little trinket. An age-old artifact of mystical powers buried in the unfound tomb of Qualopec. That's my interest. You could leave tomorrow. Are you busy tomorrow?
This is a classic adventure narrative, action, mystery, and a strong protagonist that couldn't care less about fame and fortune. Her reward is knowledge, and I'm not talking about the history she'll uncover, but personal knowledge. Lara just wants to find her limits and surpass them. That's why Lara is badass. That is why she's loved, not the weapons of mass distraction there. These cutscenes are impressive. They're very cinematic and shockingly well acted. Most players had accepted bad acting as part and parcel with video games, though Tomb Raider's on par with games like Metal Gear Solid and even Resident Evil 2. On top of that, the visuals convey the story so well that you can turn the sound down and still follow it. That's some fine work. While Tomb Raider is classified as an action-adventure game, there's a greater emphasis on adventure than action. Not to say there's no action, because there's more than enough to keep players on their toes. Lara will have to defend herself against bloodthirsty bats, packs of wolves, big brown bears, giant crocodiles, rodents of unusual size, whatever the hell these things are supposed to be, velociraptors, and a Tyrannosaurus Rex, just to name a few. Your only weapons are dual pistols with infinite ammo. Where she packs that much metal, I have no clue. You'll find a shotgun, magnums, and machine guns later on, though ammo is sparse, so you'll have to save that shit for when it counts. As you can see, there's plenty of action to be had throughout these 15 levels. You'll explore the aforementioned Tomb of Qualopec, the ancient monastery of St. Francis in Greece, as well as the city of Khamun in Egypt. Regardless, action's not the driving force of the game. It's solving various puzzles and performing some death-defying jumps. Puzzles aren't too complicated. You'll have to move giant blocks in order to reach platforms or uncover hidden passages, pulling levers that unlock doors, leading you to a key that will unlock another door, and so on. However, some puzzles will catch you off guard. I got a little complacent here, ran up that ramp, and She has some of the best death animations, let me tell you. That's the meat of the gameplay. Thankfully, Lara is well equipped for the challenge. She can walk, run, jump, sidestep, swim, and shimmy across precarious ledges in order to find her treasured artifacts and secret areas. Every time I heard that sound, I felt accomplished, up until I finished the stage and saw just how many I missed. My heart sinks each and every time, no lie. It's strange, I didn't like Tomb Raider very much when I was 13. Back then, if I wasn't shooting zombies or hordes of demons, my interest was nil. Now that I'm 32 years old, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I'm thoroughly engrossed. The overall presentation and staggering level of detail sucks you in, making me feel as if I'm a part of the adventure, and that is fantastic. The puzzles are imaginative, as are the traps. My favorite is St. Francis's Folly, where you enter these rooms modeled after mythological figures like Neptune, Atlas, Thor, and Damocles. How? This never fails to scare the shit out of me. As for platform jumping, it's both thrilling and intensely aggravating. Every jump must be performed with care and a whole lot of patience, because if you fall from too great a height, you'll either take a little damage or fall to your death. My mom had this shit down to a science. In the cistern, there's this one ledge you can't reach unless you turn your back toward it, take one step forward, and jump back. She figured that out all by herself. I had to look it up. The controls make it somewhat difficult at first. They remind me very much of Flashback with how you time your jumps. It's not like Super Mario 64 where jumping is instantaneous. With Tomb Raider, you hop back first, run, then you quickly press the jump button. A few steps later, she's airborne. It gets trickier when you have to press the action button while in mid-air to grab a ledge. Seriously, my shoulders tense up whenever I do this. You'd think I was actually jumping for dear life. One thing I'll criticize here is the camera. For the most part, it's fine, but every now and then it will shift to an awkward angle that makes it way more difficult than it has to be. Here I am in the Lost Valley, and I have to jump this gap in the bridge. This angle sucks. I can't get a feel for how far I have to jump, and this isn't like Mario 64 where you can adjust the camera. You do have a look button, but you can't lock that angle in place. Oddly enough, it wasn't until I got so frustrated that I made a blind leap and... well, how about that shit? If you're having difficulties coping with the controls, you can hit Lara's gym and get in some practice. It's not what I'd call essential, though it's nice to have the option and check out her digs. Now wait a second, this is a big game with huge environments that can take you anywhere from 15 minutes to a whole hour to explore. On top of that, if you miscalculate a jump or happen upon a tough enemy, Lara's history, literally. So how do you save your progress? You see that diamond? That's how you save. There's a few placed throughout every level, though once you save the game, the diamond vanishes. This has been a sore spot for many console gamers. You can't save wherever or whenever you want, meaning you'll still have to backtrack a bit from a given point. This can be exceedingly frustrating because there are levels in which many puzzles are available to you, though they must be done in sequential order, and you have no choice but to figure them out through simple trial and error. Take the cistern, for example. It's a large space with a tiny pool at the bottom surrounded by pillars leading to various passages. One of the first rooms I enter has a lever, and of course I pull it. Okay, now this is something that really pissed me off. Up until this point, whenever I pulled a lever or used a key of some kind, the game would cut to a quick scene showing me what I had done. When I pull this lever, I get nothing. It's just some indecipherable noise that tells me very little. So I kept playing and made my way back to the main area, not realizing the room had flooded because I had been jumping around in another chamber for 20 minutes and forgot what this place even looked like. I had explored the rest of the level, finding keys, killing giant rats, and all that good shit, using every save diamond I came across, only to find out I had flooded the level too soon. Beautiful. Unfortunately, I had used all the save diamonds, so that meant backtracking, hopping all those pillars again, killing more crocodiles, and it was just exhausting. On the flip side, if you catch your mistake early enough, you can restart the level, replace the save diamonds while lightening the workload in the process. The DOS version lets players save at any time, and many players prefer this. Personally, I feel it robs the player of some challenge. It's annoying, without a doubt, but I think this was intentional, therefore I can't criticize it too harshly. All in all, the gameplay is solid. It's not perfect, but it does so much right that I can overlook a dodgy camera and some lame bosses. Yes, the boss battles require very little skill. Since your weapons auto-lock, you can jump left and right, pumping their asses full of lead while avoiding enemy fire or melee attacks. The standard enemies offer more of a challenge, like these fucking mummies. They're the worst. Anyway, let's talk about the graphics. For the time, they were awe-inspiring as fuck. Many players have gone back and criticized the pixel-ridden textures and overabundance of clipping, but this is a full roaming 3D adventure, and on Sega Saturn no less. That has to count for something, right? I mean seriously, why is it that we lavish 2D games from any era with warm and fuzzy nostalgia snuggles, yet we shit all over 3D games prior to the 7th generation? I see no difference. They're outdated, yes, but that doesn't make them any less appealing. Character animations look natural. The models themselves are a bit rough, even for the time, though they work well. Every level is enormous and has its own distinctive style. All the rock formations, inscriptions on cave walls, and murals make their respective stages stand out. It's these little details that make me want to explore every nook and cranny. Even more impressive is the use of light sourcing, an effect rarely seen on Saturn when compared to Sony's PlayStation or Nintendo 64. Speaking of PlayStation, it's time we draw some comparisons. Yes, I'm sure you were expecting this. As you can see here, they look almost identical. Lara looks a wee bit thicker, which is appealing to me. Colors are richer, though less lifelike, and it's just a smidgen darker. Some players claim light refraction within the numerous pools and ponds is completely absent, yet... yeah, enough said. Saturn has an added effect where anything in the water seen from above appears to ripple, which is a nice touch. The frame rate is smooth at times, though it gets real choppy when viewing these massive environments. PlayStation didn't choke quite this hard, so points to Sony for maintaining a more consistent frame rate. Those minor differences aside, it's essentially the same game. If there's one thing that gives Saturn an edge, it's the controller. All about that D-pad, folks. Movement feels more natural and smooth. I can take sharp turns without slamming into walls. Again, Sega will almost always win out over Sony in regards to control. No matter which version you play, Tomb Raider is a great game that has aged remarkably well. If you're a Saturn fan, this is an absolute must, for there really aren't that many 3D action-adventure games available for the platform. If that's not enough to convince you, the Saturn version can be purchased for as little as $20 on eBay. So, if you'll excuse me, I have a party to attend to. Latest!